now we're getting ready to turn those likes that everybody left into dislikes. Because
now people are going to hate us.
As soon as I say one thing negative, everybody's going to dislike the video.
So,
So what is something that you either disliked about the game, whether it was something that wasn't in the game, maybe it was something that you wanted, or maybe it was something that you could have just changed or tweaked a little bit to make it better?
Okay. Well, I'll start off a bit slowly and then move on to the bigger points a bit later, because the first point I'd like to make is music. I mean, all of this is, again, subjective. You may absolutely love the music. There are some tunes in this game that I think are absolutely great, but it's sort of, I get why they did this, so that's why I'm sort of putting it, first as the smallest thing. But I just feel like it does lack a bit in music, especially like, let's say the final boss battle. I loved the music, but it was still like they sort of recycled the main theme. And there's just not that many memorable pieces. The only memorable I can really think of are like the trailer music, the trailer songs, and the riding theme. Oh God, I love the riding theme. I love it when you're riding in this piano, so it's like dingling and going about. I absolutely love that. I love. I don't know. The piano is really great, but it's just not. It doesn't give me the same thing as, like, let's say the Wind Waker with the Great Sea. Like I can just play that tune in my head and I can remember it. I didn't get that from this game really. I get what they wanted to achieve, which was like when you're just like roaming about, you hear the grass, you hear the animals, you hear like you want to listen to the wildlife instead.
Yeah.
And I can accept that. I didn't get the same feeling from this game in terms of music as I did for the other ones though. So that's my first point.
Yeah, that was actually something that I thought was kind of negative to the game. Again, like I wouldn't like take it down to a 9 or an 8 because of this, because
well, of course.
They've said that they wanted the music to kind of reflect on the nature. So if you're exactly. You might hear like a slow piano theme, and then as an enemy approaches or something, it starts to speed up, and then there's more instruments that get added onto it to make it more intense or more of an epic feel. But whenever you're just out in an open field, there's like the slight piano notes that you can hear, and it's mostly, like you said, about hearing the footsteps on the grass. They made a big deal about during their interviews, they said they had somebody specifically to work on all of the sounds from the nature. Like every time you hear the footsteps, it's not just a footstep track being played over and over. It's the sound of whenever the horse's hoof or your foot touches the ground. That's actually what makes the sound. So I get they wanted to put a big part of the sound of the game into that. But as you're saying, like, I was hoping whenever I go to Zora's Domain or Goron City, like you would hear that tune from Ocarina of Time or Twilight Princess.
To be fair, the Zora's Domain does have like a big soundtrack playing though, I think.
Yeah. And then, what was it? In the Temple of Time, there's a theme, but like you have to speed it up for it to actually hear the theme because it's slowed down by like 10. So, they did interesting stuff, but as you were saying, with Skyward Sword, like they also had an orchestral soundtrack, but the songs like Skyloft was really great. Whenever you go to Skyloft, you hear that tune, and then if you hear it later on, you're going to know what that's from. With this game, whenever, like, if I just heard that in the background somewhere, unless I seen somebody playing Breath of the Wild, I might not necessarily think of Zelda with the songs in this game.
Exactly.
So,
it doesn't have that straight up Zelda feel. Like the main theme does, but it's just I wouldn't say it's necessarily bad. It's just not the same impact as other games.
Yeah, it's not. It's good, but it's just not as memorable for me.
Yes, exactly.
So since my first negative thing was basically the same thing as you, I'm going to go ahead and list my second thing, and then you can go on.
You go ahead.
All right, so another thing that I didn't like about the game is whenever you first start out, they make a big deal about using your magnesis or whatever rune abilities you have to like pick chests up out of the water and stuff, and I was like, oh, that's great for the beginning of the game. And then as you progress, one of the first places that you go, if you follow the path, I think is Zora's domain. So whenever you get the Zora armor, in my head I was like, okay, awesome, this is going to let me swim as far as I want. It's going to help me. What were you gonna say?
I thought you were going to say dive, because that's what I thought.
Oh, yeah. So, in my head, I was thinking this is going to give you, like, unlimited stamina while you're in the water. This is going to let you, as you said, dive under the water. So that's what I was thinking it was going to do, because that's what it did in some of the other games. But it doesn't. It just lets you swim a little bit faster, and the most important part is swimming up waterfalls, which is great, but it's still not what I was expecting. So that was a big thing for me. It looks good, like the outfit itself looks really great, but what is something, either your thoughts on this or your second thing that you didn't like about the game?
I just want to comment on your thing, because you specifically meant the Zora armor, right?
Yes.
Let me just say, you should try upgrading that to 2 stars and see what happens.
All right.
With the swimming. I'll definitely tell you that. I think you might change your opinion a bit on that, but
all right.
You'll have to try that on your own. My second one is going to be somewhat on the weapon durability system. My last point is definitely going to be a negative for me, like a straight up, because this one, it's still sort of a negative, but not really. Because the thing is, I know a lot of people complain about the durability system. I like it to an extent. The thing is, I loved it in the beginning because it made me feel like I had to constantly switch up my playstyle. I had to go from area to area and scavenge new weapons, and it really felt like I was pressured. Okay, like now I'm gonna plan out how to use these weapons, and I'm gonna make sure that these are, the weapons I feel like are right for the situation. But then later in the game, I feel like I'm sort of confused by this, because it's like the durability gets so high that it's like, to me, either you have no durability or it's going to be extremely low, so you have to move from weapon to weapon. But then you start getting durability that's like, okay, well now I can just basically just go through this whole weapon camp with just one weapon, and it's like I don't really feel like I have to mix up my style anymore. I feel like it sort of dies down. But then there's also like you can sort of buy weapons. I think I'm pretty sure you've probably gotten to that bit.
Yeah.
You can buy really expensive weapons, but then they sort of break. I mean, pretty fast as well. So that's another point. Like I feel like it doesn't really, except that they look extremely cool. Like, why should I buy them? I did buy a few just to decorate my house with them because they look awesome. But that's pretty much it. Like, I mean, you can take down a guardian with them, but there are way easier ways to take down guardians. Like, hint, hint, parry the freaking laser, and there you go. You don't need to buy those weapons, and it sort of defeats the purpose. Then again, I'm like rich with rupees, so I just buy them because they're cool. But yeah, I just sort of feel like it defeats the purpose of using them, because like they're gonna break. Like I get so attached to them because they're so cool that I just end up never using them, basically. I just feel like
that's how I felt early on. You come across the sword in Zora's domain that's like right behind the shrine.
Yeah, I found that today.
Really, really awesome.
Yes.
But it's not necessarily that powerful. So it's like, even though it looks really cool, I hardly ever use it just because it'll either break within a few minutes or it's just weak against the enemies that I'm now facing. It might have been powerful at towards the beginning of the game, but after you're like halfway through the game, there's no real point in using it. So as you said, it's better for just decorating your house with.
Exactly, keeping it in your inventory. To be fair, it does respawn, but it's I do like that they added the whole sort of weapon buffs there, here and there. When you pick up a weapon, it can have durability or attack up and stuff. I do like that, but you're totally right about that. It just sort of renders the weapon pointless. But to just add a final point to the whole weapon durability system, what I do like, and the main reason why I do like it, is the fact that it doesn't let you become overpowered. Because if there was a durability system, it would be very easy to just become overpowered. Just hoard all the best weapons and bam, there you go.
Yeah.
You don't need to use anything else.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. I find myself like, if I'm fighting a really hard enemy, like whether it's a boss or the Lynels, like the silver Lynels that you come across.
Yes. God, yeah.
I'll put on the Hylian shield or like another really powerful shield because they'll break almost any other shield in one hit. So I do like the strength of some of the armor, but it's like you said at the very beginning of this, it's either the durability's really high or it's really low. So like it'll last for quite a bit of time or it won't last at all. There's really no middle ground, it seems, for some of the stuff that I've found.
Same. Yeah. I agree with that. So I guess it's your final point?
Yeah. My final thing that I didn't like about this game is... And this is going to be kind of odd because I think I mentioned this to you on Twitter, so I don't necessarily think it's something negative about this game. In a way, I see them as they didn't implement it into this game, because if they would have, then they would have been stuck with how do we make it even better for the next time. So because you don't want to put absolutely everything you have into one game. You want to save some of the cool ideas so you have something to work with during your next game. So one of the things that I was hoping for was the last home console Zelda game had loft wings. And you could fly up above the clouds and everything. You could soar over Skyloft, which was cool, but there wasn't really anything else. Like everything else you were flying over was just clouds. In this game, I was thinking, like, as soon as they showed off how huge the world was, in my head I was thinking, how awesome would it be if sort of later on in the game you could come across the loft wing, and maybe that's how you make it to the peak of Death Mountain, or before we knew that flying structure in the sky was a guardian. In my head I was thinking maybe that's how you make it to that. Otherwise, how are you going to make your way like hundreds of feet in the air to get to that giant flying island or whatever it is? Loft wings made perfect sense. Now we know the Rito tribe helps you out, but so if you could just picture how huge and beautiful this open world of Hyrule is in Breath of the Wild, and then imagine flying over top of it, looking down at everything while you're riding on a loft wing. And then they could even implement it into a mini boss fight or a boss fight, as they did in Skyward Sword, when you have to go to like towards the end of the game, there's the giant well that has the parasite on it.
Yeah.
The Leviathan, I think, was the name of it. So if there was something like that, to where there's a boss fight taking place like hundreds of feet in the air over top of this huge world, what would be more epic than that?
Hang on, can we just pause for a second? My
guinea
pig is like going crazy in the back. Hang on 1 second. There we go. Sorry about that. My guinea pig goes crazy if he doesn't get food for a while.
You're fine. So that was basically my thing. Is I was just thinking about the potential this game could have if loft wings were included. But after you play the game, you're thinking, what could they possibly do next to make this experience even better? Aside from like what they did with Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, they took everything that you did in Ocarina of Time, gave you a new world, which in that case was Termina, and then they added a few things. That way, whenever they reused some of the same stuff, it still felt kind of new. Yeah. But with Breath of the Wild, I don't think taking everything that you do in this game and putting it in another, you're going to be... It's just going to feel like more of the same, I think. So being able to include stuff like the loft wing and flying would be a way to make it feel fresh again while still reusing a lot of the same upgrade mechanics that they had in Breath of the Wild. So what's your final thing that you thought was kind of a negative that you would change with Breath of the Wild?
So my final thing would definitely be this. I guess it's going to be a bit divided with this one, but it's the story.
All right.
I felt like generally I like the story. Like, the story's good. I think overall, with the whole world and everything, and I guess you could call it the lore, I think it was great. But I feel that, like, the memories, the memories were great. I had a really good time. I actually brought, like, a friend with me, and we set out to find all of them together. That was an amazing experience. I had so much fun doing that. But I still feel like the memories, well, they were all just set in the past. I didn't get enough like cutscenes, enough of story material in the present. There was no, I guess, spoiler warning. There was no real like plot twist that like kept me so engaged with the story. I mean, the world was great. It told the story
really quick,
through the world.
You mentioned plot twist. For those that are listening, games like Ocarina of Time, Twilight Princess, maybe even Wind Waker. There was moments in the game, like in Ocarina of Time, after you do everything you're supposed to, you collect the 3 spiritual stones, you think, hooray, you're about to save the world or whatever. But then after you complete the first 3 dungeon, the twist happens, and then Ganondorf basically takes over Hyrule in Twilight Princess. After you collect all of the different pieces or whatever, Zant shows up, and I think he takes it from you or something. So
exactly.
There's been crazy plot twists in Zelda games before, so I didn't want someone to comment and say something negative about the game not having a twist, because we've been kind of put on a path to expect some sort of twist in a Zelda game.
True. I mean,
I don't want people that may have not remembered those plot twists to say something negative about what you just said without knowing that Zelda games usually do have plot twists or some kind of change.
To be fair, a game absolutely does not need to be a need to have a plot twist to be good. Hence why I absolutely adore this game. But still, I still feel like it didn't need like a plot twist. It just needed more. Like, I want to see more of Zelda. I think, like, in my opinion, this is probably one of the best Zeldas we've had. Even though she's, I guess you could call it sort of the weak side. I still feel like. I know a lot of like girls and stuff that could sort of relate to the whole feeling like, oh, I'm not good enough or something like that. I know a lot of people struggle with that. I like the whole feeling of being able to relate to Zelda. I like the take on it. Like, she feels like Link is the reminder to her of what a failure she is. Sort of like they have to rely on a miracle every time for Hyrule to be saved. Like, she's not good enough to actually do her part and save everyone.
Yeah.
And he's just a living reminder of that. And I loved that, and I just wanted more of it. I felt like it sort of I wanted to see more of Zelda. I wanted to see more of all that, but like in the present. I wanted to I really hope the DLC is going to expand upon this, but that's, I guess, my biggest gripe with the game. I just didn't feel like with Wind Waker. Wind Waker is by far I haven't played Twilight Princess in a while, but Wind Waker is right now by far my favorite Zelda game in terms of story. I love the journey with Tetra. I love how all that unfolds, and I love how like it just goes into that epic battle in the end, and you really feel like, oh man, I'm motivated to do this. And to be fair, you could say this with Breath of the Wild as well, like by hearing all the legends, the people tell you in the villages and everything, that you sort of build up this image of Calamity Ganon. I just didn't get that same drive from the story in this game. Like, I love the world. I love the Guardians especially. It's such amazing art style and such huge potential, but I just didn't feel that engagement with the story, and that's I guess my biggest flaw with the game overall.
Yeah, and with my final topic, as I said earlier, thing like they could have added the loft wings to make a better game. And then what you're saying with like the sort of misdirection of the story with Breath of the Wild, perhaps it was something like they spent all this time creating this huge open world, making it feel as less of an empty shell as they could by adding in the Korok seeds, all the puzzles, the NPCs and everything. So maybe they focused more on that than they did with story. But this is a great segue into our next topic, which is where do we think the Zelda series is going to go in the future? Like, what's up everybody? Really quick before we get to the usual end slate, I wanted to mention a quick update for this channel. I'm trying to bring together a few new series other than the usual discussions and news videos that we do. I would like to bring quality reviews, let's plays, do more live streams, a top 10 series, and more analysis videos. However, to do this, I need your help. Between being a new father, YouTube, and my real job, I don't have the time to work on all of these videos. So I would like to bring on other people who can help out from time to time, like Sasizi and others who have helped host and edit videos before. To make this all happen and to get awesome rewards for yourself, head over to patreon.com/GameOverJesse, where you can get shoutouts and videos, join our group Discord and chat with us whenever you want, be a guest on some of our videos, and much more. If you haven't already, please like, subscribe, and leave your thoughts in the comments below. I would like to give a huge thank you to this month's Patreons for their support: George Martinez, Glenn Cassio, Hin Hutinen, Lunarium, Magic Tech Review, The Itch Network, and Harris Priest. Thank you all for everything, and it's because of your support that I'm able to find the time to do these videos. If you would also like to support this channel, head over to patreon.com/GameOverJesse, where you can find all kinds of great rewards like joining on a video, being added onto our Discord chat, having your discussion or topic featured on one of our videos, and much more, including having your own custom artwork similar to my own, drawn of you in any anime or video game style you would like. Finally, I would like to give a huge thank you to Gnomo Designs and CS Guitar 89 for providing the music and artwork for this channel.